Population boom. To experience a rapid increase in population. Synonym for population boom. Population explosion, surging population, rapid population growth, population surge, population spike, population expansion. The introduction of advanced healthcare facilities resulted in a population boom in the region. Some regions are currently experiencing a population boom due to high birth rates. The discovery of oil led to a population boom in the once sleepy town. Taper off. To decrease gradually, often referring to population growth. Synonym for taper off. Decrease gradually, diminish, decline, dwindle, subside, ease off. The demand for the product started to taper off as newer models were introduced to the market. After the initial surge, immigration to the country began to taper off. After reaching a peak, the population growth began to taper off. Dwindle down. To decrease in number or size over time. Synonym for dwindle down. Decrease, diminish, decline, shrink, reduce, deplete. The rural population has been dwindling down as people move to urban areas. The wildlife conservation efforts have seen the once thriving bird population dwindle down to just a few dozen individuals. Over the years, the company's profits have dwindled down due to increased competition and changing market trends. Outnumber by. To exceed in quantity or surpass in numbers. Synonym for outnumber by. Surpass in numbers, exceed in quantity, be greater than, outstrip in number, eclipse in quantity, be in the majority over. The younger generation now outnumber the elderly by a significant margin in many urban areas. In this election, independent voters outnumber the party members by a considerable margin. In the negotiation, the opposition team outnumbered us by a significant margin, making it challenging to push through our proposals. Aging population. To have a higher proportion of elderly individuals within the overall population. Synonym for aging population. Aging population, elderly population, senior population, geriatric population, aged population, aging demographic. Japan is facing the challenges of an aging population, with a large proportion of citizens over the age of 65. Japan is facing challenges due to its rapidly aging population. Many European countries are experiencing an aging population due to declining birth rates and increased life expectancy. Double in size. To multiply and become twice as large. Synonym for double in size. Increase twofold, grow twice as large, expand by 2 times, multiply in size, duplicate in magnitude, become twice as big. The city's population is projected to double in size within the next decade. If left unchecked, invasive species populations can double in size within a short period, threatening native ecosystems. The city's population doubled in size after the construction of a new industrial park attracted workers from neighboring towns. Stabilize at. To reach and maintain a consistent level or population size. Synonym for stabilize at. Reach a steady level, plateau at, level off at, maintain a consistent level, settle at, remain stable at. After years of rapid growth, the economy has finally stabilized at a sustainable level. The population is expected to stabilize at around 10 million in the coming years. Despite efforts to increase vaccination rates, COVID-19 cases have stabilized at a worrying level in some regions. Migrate to move from one region or country to another, impacting population distribution. Synonym for migrate to move to, relocate to, resettle in, transfer to, shift to, emigrate to. Many people migrate to urban areas in search of better opportunities. Many young professionals migrate to urban centers in search of better job opportunities and amenities. As climate change impacts their habitats, some animal species may migrate to cooler regions to survive. Cluster in to gather or concentrate in specific regions or cities. Synonym for cluster in, gather in, accumulate in, concentrate in, amass in, group in, collect in. Immigrant communities tend to cluster in specific neighborhoods where they can find familiar culture and support networks. Immigrants often cluster in urban areas where job opportunities are more abundant. Tech companies often cluster in Silicon Valley to benefit from proximity to talent, resources, and potential collaborators. Spread out to disperse or distribute over a larger area, reducing population density. Synonym for spread out, disperse, scatter, extend, expand, fan out, distribute. As urban areas expand, wildlife habitats are increasingly fragmented as forests are cleared and cities spread out. In response to the pandemic, offices implemented flexible work arrangements, allowing employees to spread out their working hours. Urban planning aims to encourage the population to spread out for sustainable development. Shift away from to move or transition from one location or pattern to another. Synonym for shift away from, transition from, move away from, change course from, redirect from, deviate from, veer away from. Many manufacturing jobs have shifted away from traditional factory towns to overseas locations with cheaper labor costs. The fashion industry is gradually shifting away from fast fashion towards more sustainable and ethical practices. The population has been shifting away from rural areas towards urban centers. Settle down in to establish residence or live permanently in a particular place. Synonym for settle down in, establish residence in, make a home in, take up residence in, put down roots in, live permanently in, take root in. Many young professionals choose to settle down in metropolitan areas. The nomadic tribe used to roam the plains, but they eventually settled down in fertile valleys where they could cultivate crops. After years of traveling, Sarah decided to settle down in a small coastal town where she could enjoy a slower pace of life. Face a shortage of, to experience a deficit or insufficient quantity, often related to resources or services. Synonym for face a shortage of, experience a deficit of, encounter a scarcity of, confront a lack of, deal with an insufficiency of, grapple with a deficiency of, meet a shortfall of. The company began to face a shortage of skilled workers as more employees retired and fewer qualified candidates entered the job market. Hospitals are facing a shortage of medical supplies amid the surge in COVID-19 cases. The region is facing a shortage of clean water due to prolonged droughts and inadequate infrastructure. Strain on resources. To put pressure or stress on available resources due to a growing population. Synonym for strain on resources. Pressure on resources, stress on resources, burden on resources, demand on resources, tax on resources, weight on resources. Increased tourism has placed a strain on natural resources and led to environmental degradation in the region. The increasing population is putting strain on water and energy resources. The rapid urbanization of the area has put a strain on resources such as electricity, water, and sanitation. Deplete resources. To exhaust or use up available resources at an unsustainable rate. Synonym for deplete resources. Exhaust resources, use up resources, consume resources, drain resources, empty resources, exploit resources. The extensive logging activities have severely depleted resources in the forest, leading to habitat loss and biodiversity decline. Overpopulation can lead to the depletion of natural resources in certain regions. Overfishing has depleted resources in the once rich fishing grounds, threatening the livelihoods of local fishermen. Curb population growth. To implement measures to control or slow down population growth. Synonym for curb population growth. Control population growth, limit population increase, restrain population expansion, manage population growth, regulate population rise, constrain population growth. The government implemented a family planning program to curb population growth and alleviate pressure on resources. Education and access to contraceptives play a crucial role in curbing population growth in developing countries. Governments often introduce policies to curb population growth in crowded areas. Address demographic challenges. To acknowledge and work towards solutions for issues related to population composition. Synonym for address demographic challenges. Tackle demographic issues, confront demographic problems, deal with demographic hurdles, handle demographic obstacles, manage demographic complexities, approach demographic issues. Policymakers are working to address demographic challenges such as an aging population and declining birth rates through social welfare programs. Urban planners need to address demographic challenges by designing inclusive and age-friendly cities to accommodate the needs of different age groups. Policymakers are working to address demographic challenges, such as an aging population. Counter demographic shifts. To actively oppose or mitigate changes in population patterns. Synonym for counter demographic shifts. Oppose population changes, resist demographic transitions, mitigate population shifts, combat demographic movements, counteract population adjustments, oppose changes in population dynamics. The government aims to counter demographic shifts by incentivizing young families to settle in rural areas through housing subsidies and job opportunities. Economic incentives may be introduced to counter demographic shifts in declining regions. Educational institutions are adapting their programs to counter demographic shifts and meet the changing needs of a more diverse student population. Distribute evenly. To spread or allocate resources, opportunities, or services uniformly. Synonym for distribute evenly. Allocate equally, spread uniformly, disperse evenly, divide equitably, apportion evenly, share out evenly. The government plans to distribute food aid evenly to all affected communities, regardless of their geographic location. The organization aims to distribute resources evenly among different regions to ensure equitable development and access to services. The goal is to distribute healthcare services evenly across the entire population. Strategize for sustainable growth. To plan and implement measures for balanced and sustainable population growth. Synonym for strategize for sustainable growth. Plan for environmentally friendly expansion. Develop strategies for long-term growth. Design plans for eco-conscious development. Formulate sustainable growth plans. Create strategies for green growth. Lay out plans for environmentally sustainable expansion. Urban planners are strategizing for sustainable growth to avoid overpopulation issues. City planners are strategizing for sustainable growth by promoting green infrastructure, public transportation, and renewable energy initiatives. Businesses need to strategize for sustainable growth by adopting environmentally friendly practices and reducing their carbon footprint. Level up your English. Master vocabulary, idioms, and phrasal verbs with fun quizzes. Translate meanings into 104 languages. Download now. Link in the description. Please like and subscribe to our channel.